Well, if you've been spending any time outdoors this summer in the heat, it always is important to protect your skin from the sun's harmful rays.
Of course, but what type of sunscreen should you use and how much? Dermatologist Dr. Sherry Ingraham is breaking down her picks for the best SPF products to protect yourself and your family. And she's joining us now via Zoom. Hi, Dr. Ingraham. Great to see you.
Great to see you all.
You know, I think when we talk about this subject, you're the ones that opened our eyes to the amount of sunscreen. So before we get into the types, let's talk about the amount, because a little pump isn't going to do ya.
No, I always tell my kids, you've got to cover yourself and cover yourself thick. A shot glass full is theoretically what we say. And I mean, kids don't know what a shot glass looks like.
We hope.
But it's like the top of a sunscreen lid. It's a little shot glass full to cover your entire body. And you want a pretty decent layer. One of the biggest things we find is the reason people get burned is they don't apply enough and they don't reapply often.
And aside, though, from the creams, Dr. Ingraham, the spray sunscreens, a lot of people go to those because they are more convenient, right? They have some alcohol in them so they can burn when they spray on. Let's talk about your first pick. It happens to be a spray as well.
Right. I think it's important to include a spray. And the reason I like this spray from ELTA is it's a zinc-based spray. So it's just zinc and titanium. So it's a true sunblock. So if you're looking for a spray that has staying power, you can use this. Now, a couple of tips. If you're going to do your face, obviously you don't want to do it inside. You don't want to spray your face. I have a lot of men who like these. So I tell them, spray your hands, spread it on your face, and spread it on your scalp. If you're going to the beach or to the pool with your kids, always start that first layer of the day with a cream or a lotion. That has better coverage. Then throughout the day, the spray is your reapplication because it's all easy. You know, the only sunscreen you're going to use is the one you feel comfortable using. So you've got to find something that matches your lifestyle.
And real quickly, before we get into the brands, where can we buy that particular product?
So ELTA is a dermatological favorite. So you can buy it at dermatologist's office, at Advanced Dermatology. At our office, we carry it. You can buy it online at a lot of the derm stores, skin stores, and from the ELTA website.
Okay, perfect. So what I love about you is you give us options, accessibility to these types of great products. And now we're going to go over drugstore sunscreen. And you say that there's some great ones there, too.
There's some great ones. You know, one of our go-tos, and this is one that my husband swears by, is this NEUTROGENA Ultra Sheer. And he likes it because it doesn't run into your eyes. It doesn't get real sticky. It's designed to be sheer and lightweight, so it doesn't feel heavy throughout the day. And actually, my kids like this too. Remember, when it comes to kids and adults, and we'll get into this in a moment, really, any sunscreen can be used on a child as long as it doesn't burn or irritate them. So it doesn't have to be a baby or child sunscreen. Find something that everyone likes that's broad spectrum UVA and UVB. I like this sunscreen. You can get it at any drugstore or grocery store, but it also is UVA and UVB blocking, but it is a chemical sunscreen. If you are sensitive to chemical sunscreens, you want a physical sunscreen. So I'm going to give you some more options also.
What about minimum SPF? Because, Dr. Ingraham, I noticed the one you just had, SPF 45. Is there a certain number we should be looking for?
You want to look for 30 or higher. All sunscreens for adults or children should be 30 or higher and theoretically reapplied every 2 hours if you're out swimming or rubbing yourself with a towel. Now, the FDA just came out with new recommendations which state it should not be above SPF 60 on the label. Above 60 isn't going to hurt you, but SPF 60 is high enough. Let's put it that way.
Okay, all right, let's talk about this more specific sunscreen for kids. You have some specific products.
Yeah, I love this La Roche-Posay ANTHELIOS. ANTHELIOS is a great product from France. La Roche-Posay is made by La Roche-Posay, which is a company owned by L'Oreal. So it's a European ingredient mixoral that they really started putting into their sunscreens that has great UVA blocking. Now, this is a great product. My kids love using L'Oreal La Roche-Posay products because they go on very lightweight. They don't get in their eyes. It's designed to be cosmetically elegant for kids, which means it's lightweight, it melts in, they can reapply it. And also something to think about is that kids should reapply these themselves. So find something, teach them to apply it so they will reapply it themselves.
Well, and that reapplication, I feel like this is key because there have been so many times I've been to the beach and I've gotten burned, even though I've been really careful about applying. So if a sunscreen is labeled as waterproof, what does that really mean? Because it seems like after you've been in the water or if you've been sweating, obviously I'm doing something wrong if I'm still getting burned.
you're not doing anything wrong. You're just being a busy, happy guy at the beach, like we should all be. But you've got to keep in mind, really now they've changed the language to be water resistant, which means it's water resistant to up to 80 minutes, which means if you've been out swimming, you've been in salt water particularly, which is abrasive, you wiped yourself with a towel, you need to reapply. If you're out in the pool, you don't have to be as hyper vigilant, but really at the beach when you're in the sand, you really need to reapply every 2 hours. No sunscreen labels can any longer say waterproof. They can only say water resistant for up to 80 minutes. So the key is reapply, reapply. And that's where that spray comes in, because when you're covered in sand, you may not want to reapply lotion. You may want to do that second coat with a spray.
And also, when we reapply, is it also wait a few minutes before you jump back into the water?
Great point. So 15 minutes is the rule of thumb. And so I tell my kids, as they're running to jump in the pool, give it 15 minutes. Teach them to apply it themselves. Really, if they're older than 5, they can apply it themselves. You may want to watch them, because I kind of catch them putting a little bit on. And I've taught them to put a thicker layer on, almost so you see a little bit of it. But if they will reapply themselves, or you grab them out of the water and reapply it. But you make a great point, 15 minutes before you get into the water, so it has time to adhere to the skin. Remember, physical sunscreens, zinc and titanium, which were in that ELTA spray I showed you, actually are sun blocks. So they block and reflect light. Sunscreens, which are chemical sunscreens, which were in that ROCHE, POSAY, ANTHELIOS for kids, and in NEUTROGENA, actually absorb the light and then help it dissipate in the skin and not cause damage. They work a little bit differently, but the key, again, is always to put them on 15 minutes before you go out into the sun, so they have time to bind to the skin and be the most effective.
And before we let you go, Dr. Ingraham, for folks who are out there seeing on the store shelves these sunscreens labeled anti-aging, lip sunscreen, even powder sunscreens, walk us through some of those products, and do they work?
They do work. Now, I tell people you don't want to use them as monotherapy. So, for example, I love this ISDIN powder. I use this almost every day. And what it is, it's really a mineral powder that's designed to be a sunscreen powder. So what I'll do is I'll put my sunscreen on in the morning. I tend to use a tinted sunscreen, because then you're addressing makeup.
Right.
You've got good blockage of any discoloration. And then on top of that, I will sprinkle my sunscreen powder. Men actually do like these. Derek, throughout the day, they'll carry them in their bag if they're golfing and kind of put a good dusting on. And my kids love these. When they get out, they have a few minutes, they eat, they put a good layer on. But you don't want to do this alone. I usually say put sunscreen on. And this is something that helps dry up moisture and oil, and you can reapply throughout the day. As far as lips go, there's so many products on the market. It needs to be SPF 30 or higher. This one is actually SPF 31. This is an ELTA product that I like. Put it on first thing in the morning and then throughout the day at the beach. Some of them will come with color. This one is actually good for men and women because it's colorist and moisturizing.
It's perfect. All these are really great. And I know we went through a list of all of these things. We're going to make it available. Thanks so much for being here, Dr. Ingraham. It's always great to see you.
Thank you for having me, guys.
And that complete list of products will be on our website.